My name is Elliott Rodriguez. I am 29 years old, and I am by day a banker, and by night I am an illustrator. Pretty close to every day. Most of it is just doodling, kind of little drawings at work on my lunch break, but probably actual projects working on like maybe every few days, working on some good stuff. Most of my subjects end up coming from my kids, which are, it seems like whatever they're into is what ends up on the page. So things like, Super Mario was big for a while, and so a lot of stuff that I was doing was Super Mario related. So that does quite a bit. My kids do a lot. I think, like I said, most of the things that I end up drawing come from them. So things that I think they are into, or things that I think they like, or things that I liked that I get to revisit now through their eyes. But other than that, movies. I love movies, and I love comics. I grew up reading comics, and so anytime I pick up something like an old comic book or something, it makes me want to draw. Almost 100% no, and only because if I'm using paper, it's because I'm super paranoid that it's going to get on the paper, and if I'm using my iPad, it's because I'm super paranoid it's going to get on my iPad. So almost never no. I think probably one of the biggest artists that I feel like the first artist that I realized was an artist was as a kid reading comic books. There was an artist named John Romita Jr. Who did X-Men back in the 90s, and then did Spider-Man in the 2000s, and I think he was the first artist where as a kid I remember thinking, like, this is an artist, he has a style, and it's kind of blocky and bulky, and it's not the best, but it's, I think, one of the most interesting. I think this is the hardest question that I've got here, because I feel like I did grow up reading so much in terms of comics and superheroes, and I don't know that I can pick one. I feel like it rotates. The one that carries through over the years is Spider-Man, which is like the answer, right? That's like probably the answer that a lot of people, because he's so popular. But I think some of the later Spider-Man stories are so they're such having to do with him being an adult and not him being a kid, and those are so interesting. And I think like what an interesting life. What a real kind of interesting life. It's a book. It's a children's book that I've been writing since my first son was born, and I've been writing it and rewrote it over and over the past 8 years, and I have started doing illustrations for it, and I feel like it's all there. It just needs to get done and put together, but it's one that I feel like I revisit periodically. Every year I go back and I'll work on it, and I think it's a really fun project, and I wonder if it'll ever get done, because it's so much fun working on it, but it's one that I feel like now I can eventually give it to my kids when they're too old for children's books. Mostly I draw with pencil, like standard regular number 2 pencil. That's where almost all my drawings start. And then beyond that, if I'm doing ink, I'll use a micron pen, usually a really fine micron pen, and if I'm not doing it in physical ink, I use Procreate on my iPad, which is where a lot of my drawings get finished on. I think the best piece of advice that I can give is that you can't grow in drawing without doing it. So one thing that I was told was that if you stop drawing when you're a kid, and most adults don't draw, then you're always going to draw like you did when you were 5 years old, and so you just literally have to keep doing it over and over and over and over and over. One of the best pieces of advice that I was given, I think, was not to change your medium and your style at the same time. And I know that's been extremely helpful for me, is where I'll change a medium and keep the same style. And then once I've got the medium down, it's, you know, try new styles and that kind of thing. Super helpful. Well, I've got 5 kids, so that's 5, right? Does that count? No, I think my kids, obviously my family. I think if it's more of a desert island question, I just something that I can draw on. You know, as long as I have something to draw on, you know, even, you know, a piece of chalk. I think that's a big thing. So let's see, my kids, something to draw with, something to draw on, and inspiration. Is that cheating? My website is whoelsedesign.com, and you can check out some of my artwork there. And shout out to my kids, as previously mentioned, Logan, Nathan, Grayson, Colin, and Emmy. And shout out to my wife, Katie, and everybody who's given me advice that I didn't already mention.